Hello and welcome to Post, the channel where we discuss all things hockey and all teams. We have another elimination.
8v1.
I think this is the first time that both 8 seed, last wild card spot has eliminated the first seed or the top team in each conference. I believe this is the first time.
Never looked it up, but I haven't heard of it before.
That's pretty remarkable.
It is incredible.
And this is, we said this in some of the latest videos.
Parity.
This is really great for the NHL. Parity is a really good thing for the general hockey fan and to grow new fans. If you think about some of these markets like Carolina, and not that Colorado is a small market, but these, you think of these big fan bases like Pittsburgh and Toronto and teams that'll never not sell out. The fact that the Colorado's being competitive and Carolina's being competitive and now Columbus, you're bringing in so many new fans to the NHL, and that's exactly what Gary Bettman wants. That's what the NHL wants. And as much as I dislike Gary Bettman, he has done quite an important thing for the NHL. Him and the NHLPA and the whole clan of people. So this is crazy that the Calgary Flames are out. I did not predict this, although I'm not necessarily surprised because we did know the weaknesses of Calgary going into this series. We discussed them, and to me, the biggest weakness from Calgary was the lack of offense, the lack of scoring from their top line. Johnny Gaudreau, I thought, was pretty much invisible the entire series.
He was completely invisible. I think he had one assist.
Yeah.
In the whole series.
And it's not like he didn't have opportunities in that last game. I think he had a penalty shot and a breakaway.
Yep.
And even when he got hit, he just looked like he always looked like he was grimacing in pain or he was hurt. And I don't think he was. I just think that I just don't know if he's tough enough.
And they clearly targeted him.
They did. Oh, and Colorado did a really good job trying to get Johnny Gaudreau.
So I think in a normal game, in a normal day, I think Gaudreau is able to beat Johnny Hockey and shine and do what he does. But when you're going to go through a potentially 7-game grind, in this case a 5-game grind, and the other team has scouted the living daylights out of you, they know how to play him, they know how to neutralize him, and they were very effective at that. So I wouldn't say it's all him, but...
It's not, but he looked tired.
He did. He looked tired. He looked disengaged.
It's round 1.
Yeah, really. It's... Calgary is not the same meteor story that Tampa was this year as far as going up so high. But compared to last year, Calgary had 84 points last year. And this year they got 107. They improved their point count by almost 25 points over last year. They missed the playoffs last year, I think.
They did.
And they're number 1 seed in the entire West this year. A tremendous improvement. On the other hand, Colorado had 95 points last year and actually only got 90 this year.
Yeah.
They had a shrinking season.
Exactly. And the year before that, they got like 48 points or something.
Yeah.
So this team has seen a lot of improvement.
A lot of improvement and a bit of a decline if you look at the regular season. But Colorado just had a couple of bad strings of games, and they are a better hockey team than 90 points would suggest. And they went out and they just proved that, didn't they?
I agree. Yep, totally.
Wow.
And I think Nathan MacKinnon has proved that he's the best player in the NHL right now.
Unbelievable.
Right now.
Unbelievable.
As in, the playoffs.
Yeah, he was just absolutely lights out.
At a different level than everyone else on the ice, I felt.
Yeah. The speed he can generate on a moment's notice, he can go from a standing start quicker than anyone I've ever seen. And his ability to hang onto the puck and dangle and just, he can do a one-man cycle.
He can.
And I don't know if that's even a real phrase. When you go around the net and right to the blue line and back around again, it's reverse direction.
I've seen PK Subban do that once.
Yeah.
But you don't see it often.
You don't see it
It's
often.
Risky, and most players don't have that amount of patience.
No, that's right. And most players don't have the amount of skill to pull it off.
Yep.
I'm thinking of a guy like a Jonathan Drouin who will go in and maybe get the first 20% of something like that done and then cough the puck up. But,
exactly. Yeah.
McKinnon's amazing. And Rantanen's numbers were actually even a little bit better than McKinnon's. As good as McKinnon was, he was the number 2 man on points by a point. So just unbelievable strength from Colorado. And they lost. I don't know if the first game loss, the 4-0 loss to Calgary, woke them up or what, but that was the only game they lost.
They got woke.
They got woke.
Yeah.
And after that, they marched on. A couple of overtime wins, and then a couple of decisive wins, including the game or the series clinching win, which was very decisive and done in Calgary.
Done in Calgary, yes. A game that I thought Calgary was actually going to win, to be honest. The crowd in Calgary is so engaging and so fantastic and loud that I really thought that they were going to be that extra player for Calgary in a way. And they weren't. The players in Calgary just seemed disconnected, I think, from the game a little bit. And all of Colorado's players were in the game. They showed their depth. I thought Nieto had a really good series. I've got to see Makar, who had a fantastic series. I think he was like +4. Grubauer was absolutely outstanding. One of the best goalies in the playoffs so far.
He had a 1.90 goals against average and a .939 save percentage.
Yeah.
And that's amazing. And Makar, his introduction into the series, he only played 3 games out of those 5. He got a goal and he got an assist, and he was contributing all the time, and right out of college hockey, and away he goes. We didn't see that 20 years ago. 20 years ago, every player you drafted and brought up, maybe for a few exhibition games, maybe near the end of the season when it didn't matter anymore, because they were always a project, and they were going to be a project for 2 or 3 years in the minors. Now, you can take a guy like Makar.
Yeah, throw him into this pressure situation and watch him go. And he played so well offensively and defensively.
And the confidence. He looked like he'd been there for 5 years.
Yeah.
He was great. What a great catch for them.
Yeah, absolutely. This is great news for Colorado. I think that not only to get the end in the series early, they get a bit of a rest now. They're not exactly sure who they're going to play in the next series, but they know it's going to be difficult because they've got Vegas, who is the definition of depth, and has that crowd behind them, and it's so hard to win in the T-Mobile Arena. And then, but you might have to play San Jose, who offensively is completely stacked. San Jose has their weaknesses, that's known, but for Colorado's sake, they have a really, really tough round 2, regardless of who they play. So,
and when you have the kind of parity you talked about early on at the beginning of the broadcast, little tiny things that give you an advantage can set the scales in that parity equation. And when you look at Colorado, I'm not saying it's just this, but this is helping, not hurting. They play 41 games in the regular season at 5,000 feet altitude. Every player that comes into their rink is starving for oxygen, and every arena they go into on the road, all 30 arenas, they have more oxygen than they're used to getting.
You've brought this up before. I think this is a non-factor. I think this is a little foolish, but you're not necessarily wrong. You're right. They do play above, like they play a mile above sea level, and
that's why the U.S. Olympic teams train there.
You're right.
That's there's a reason for it, and they have that naturally.
There's the oxygen saturation is so differently that you'll get different fuel economy from vehicles in Denver, Colorado, than you would in San Jose or whatever. Like it does make a difference.
It does make a difference, and it's only a tiny difference. It won't overcome probably even one penalty kill's worth of difference. But you spread that out over just an extra 1% for everybody on that team. Sprinkle it, and then subtract that percent for everybody you're playing against, and that will make a puck maybe take a slightly different path when it bounces around, and not because of the air, but just because of the strength of the shot and the speed.
Do you think any of the Colorado players look tired?
I think a lot of the Colorado players were tired, but I don't think they look tired.
They didn't look tired. They did not look tired.
When you're having fun and you're winning, you can pull off the
and offensively,
illusion.
The amount of shots that they peppered Smith with, and even though I think Smith played pretty soft in certain parts of the series, I don't blame the loss on him at all, because realistically, those 4 wins that Colorado had, they each could probably have been 10-0 or 10-2.
Yeah.
Because without Smith, the score just would have been through the roof. And that's not saying that Riddick wouldn't have made the saves. He probably would have. But I'm just saying their Calgary losing the series cannot be blamed on Smith, in my opinion. I believe it has to do with their top players. And they just faced a really deep, high-intensity team in Colorado. So
they did. And Calgary now has to go back to their drawing board and decide whether they are, a lot like Tampa, a team that's really built for the long haul in the regular season, where the intensity is not that high, and whether they're a team that they want to build that will succeed in the playoffs, even if they don't succeed in the regular season. And they've got, I think their front end of the Calgary Flames is largely set, other than James Neal, who's a bit of a liability.
He was a healthy scratch in that last game. He should have been a healthy scratch the entire series. I do not like James Neal. He was useless for Calgary for the most part this season.
Yeah.
But that didn't help him in the last game regardless. So.
No, and he's making almost $6 million a year, and they're stuck with him, no offense, but they've got him on the roster until the end of 2023.
Yeah.
That's a really bad contract to have to eat or to buy out or whatever they're going to have to do, but they're definitely not getting their money's worth out of him.
Not this year.
Now, the good news is they've got Gaudreau, and they've got
good news is
Backlund,
good news minus
Lindholm.
the series.
Yeah, but I think it's the future's bright for Calgary on offense. I think they're good there. Defense, they've got some older players. They've got players they have to think about.
Inconsistent play. Like TJ Brody had a terrible series.
He did, but other than the one game that he really stood out to me as a big liability, I think it was game 2. I watched him after that very closely, and he, like the whole team, they had a bad series, but he wasn't as bad in the other games as he was in that game 2, I thought. But he's a.
Do you know who I think is between the Calgary and Colorado? If I was to pick one player, just in the series in general, who I think would be a complete difference maker in the series, and who was, I would say, pretty much a non-factor in the series, is Brady Tkachuk.
Yeah.
Was it Brady? What's the other Tkachuk?
Matthew.
I'm thinking. I don't know which one. I get them confused all the time.
I do too. I can tell you that Brady Tkachuk was in the building.
He was, yes. Brady Tkachuk plays for Ottawa. Tkachuk.
Matthew Tkachuk.
I thought was pretty much non-factor.
Yeah. But I think Brody's still a bit of a project. I think once he turns down his defensive liability part of the game, his giveaways, he led the team in scoring from the blue line. So he had a couple of goals and contributed offensively. He was the guy who was the number one line in the power play. And he's new. He's only 20 years old or whatever he is.
I don't think he's that young.
Well, he's young.
He's young, but I don't.
He's under contract till 2020, and then they have to make a decision. Hamonic's back there, Hannafin's back there. They're all young, fairly young guys. Giordano, he's on the other end of his career, and of course Smith himself, he's like 37 years old or something, and Calgary has to, and he's a UFA after this season. He is a UFA basically July 1st. He's a UFA. They have to really decide what they want to do. Is Riddick the guy? He's an $800,000 entry-level guy, although he's not a kid. He's 24, 25 years old. Then they have another guy on the roster too, but I think there's a lot of question marks in Calgary's goaltending that they have to settle, and a bit on the defense as well.
I think there's been questions on Calgary's goaltending since Mikko Kiprusoff.
Well, yeah. But I don't think it's to the point where they need to blow it up. I think Calgary proved that they can win a lot of hockey games this season, and that's good. They just need to find their grit.
Mentally, they were just disengaged, and they were undisciplined. They took a lot of stupid penalties, and Colorado capitalized. I mean, you can't let McKinnon and Rantanen and that whole team just run around you because there's just too much skill in that team. So,
yeah. Now, how much of it's coaching? How much of it's the ability to motivate the team to do the things you want them to do in the dressing room between games and in practices and before games? That's got to be some of it, because one of the coach's main jobs is to mentally prepare the team for what's coming. And
I think Bill Peters is a good coach.
I think he's a good coach, and
I don't blame this loss on him.
No, I think the record shows that he's a good coach, like the overall season record. But Calgary doesn't have a lot of players with playoff experience and background.
That's right. Most of the players on Calgary that have playoff experience are
cast-offs.
are cast-offs from different teams.
Yeah, like James Neal, for example.
James Neal.
James Neal has a ton of playoff experience, but he's also 35 years old or whatever. And
I believe Hamonic has playoff experience as well. Who else on that team does? I mean, there's not a lot.
There's not a lot.
It's not like other teams where...
No, there's not a lot.
They definitely have some growing pains to go through and some adjustments to make. And, it's lucky for Calgary that Tampa Bay lost the way they did, because Calgary could be the big story here. And,
that's a very good point.
And a lot of people are going to forget, when next year comes, a lot of people are going to forget that Calgary lost in the first round because of Tampa Bay. So I think Calgary, even though it's not a very good thing what's going on, they kind of dodged a bullet in a way as far as the media.
Yeah, and they only won one more game than Tampa Bay.
Yeah. It's crazy.
But it might be enough to, like you say, save them from some of the public-facing onslaught that Tampa Bay will already be facing.
Who did you want to win the series?
After Game 1, and Calgary was so overwhelming, I chose Colorado as the underdog.
Colorado was definitely the underdog, yeah.
And I stayed with them when they started to win. I just watching, they were talking for the first 2 games about Cale Makar coming onto the team, and he was a big expectation. And just wait till he gets here, and that'll help out. Now, if one kid from university can come and turn your whole series around, that's one thing. And that's not really what happened here, because they won the second game before he got there. But I want to see how far he can go. I want to see McKinnon play as long as possible because, as you said, I agree. He is the most skilled player in the North American game right now, no question. And it would be a shame for hockey if he doesn't go a long way.
Yep, I agree. I was cheering for Calgary, technically. I wanted a Canadian team to win, and I do really like Calgary in general. But I was definitely not cheering against Colorado. I really like Colorado as well. As you guys know at home, they're one of my favorite teams. So
I think they're number 4 on your list?
Number
4.
Very, very happy for them and excited. If they end up playing, Montreal, San Jose, Dallas, Colorado are my 4 main teams, and then there's St. Louis right after that.
Right.
St. Louis is almost in the top 5. Or it is technically in the top 5, but I could end up having Colorado versus San Jose and St. Louis versus Dallas.
Yeah.
In the round 2, that's all of 4 of my top 5 teams against each other. So it's going to be really hard for me to cheer against, and even Vegas. Vegas is right up there too. So
yeah, that's right. I'm really thrilled with Vegas and how they're doing. The West is going to be fun to watch.
I'm okay with, and even Nashville. Honestly, any team in the West right now, I'm okay with going to the finals. And almost every team in the East right now, I'm okay with going to the finals. So this is a really good year for Neil.
Real good year. Thank you, NHL, for making Neil's year really good.
Yeah.
Basically allowing the teams that we don't like to get thumped out before.
That's right.
Before the good stuff starts happening.
That's right. No Tampa, no Pittsburgh. They're gone.
That's great.
Washington might be gone, which is great. I don't like teams winning back-to-back.
Yeah.
Boston or Toronto, one of them is going to be gone soon, so that's good news.
Yeah. But I can see myself getting behind Colorado's run here.
Absolutely.
I'm very hopeful that Dallas wins. I'm very hopeful that Vegas wins their series. I know you're not. You're more on the fence about that than I am. But to have Winnipeg really now is the last team standing out of the West for sure for Canada, and that series against St. Louis, I feel a lot about that series like you do. There's a lot of things I like about St. Louis, and I want to see them finally have success after all these years.
Yeah, definitely.
I find it hard not to also want Winnipeg to win based on the nice run they had last year, and I think there's some unrealized expectations that they want to deliver to their fans who deserve to have something to cheer about past the second round. So I'm happy whatever happens. I just want good games and good stories, and so far they are delivering for us.
If Colorado makes it to the conference finals and they have to match up against a central team, so it's either going to be Nashville, Dallas, Winnipeg, or St. Louis, what team do you think Colorado has the best chance against of those 4 teams?
Oh, man. I think it might be Dallas.
I was kind of thinking Dallas, too.
Yeah, but I don't have a scientific reason for that. I just think that Dallas is in a similar position to Colorado when it comes to recent playoff experience, the ability to dig down and find something and all that. They'll both be probably going through the same kind of soul-searching on a series like that.
I don't think Colorado matches up well against Winnipeg or St. Louis that much. I would prefer to see them play Nashville or Dallas if they wanted to have a chance. But I could be wrong. I'm wrong on lots of things. So,
well, I got a whole table full of wrong here.
Yeah,
look at my predictions.
Me too over there. All right, thanks for joining me for this video. I appreciate it. Thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate that as well. Hope you're having a good day. Hope you're watching lots of hockey, and we will talk to you in the next video. Adios.